This is Thanet. Its beautiful towns and villages are blanketed by golden coastline and a belt of prime agricultural land. Approximately 58% of its 40 square miles is farmland. Thanet is facing an ecological crime of epic proportions, and once it has started, there's no way of reversing it. It was autumn 2020 when I first became aware of the local plan to build over 2,000 new houses on the farmland in the town of Westgate where I grew up. I was dismayed to discover that at the exact time of a global climate crisis, our national and local government is prepared to sacrifice the very thing that we should be protecting. We have a shared responsibility to protect our environment for my generation and the next. In 2019, Thanet's District Council declared a climate emergency with a pledge to take urgent action. If this is the case, it's perplexing to understand how building a massive houses on Thanet's farmland can possibly support this. But why is the farmland here so important, and why would it be so devastating to lose? The fields in Garlange, Westgate and Birchington are some of the best and most versatile in the UK. The soils here are incredibly fertile, and together with the maritime climate, it means Thanet's farmland is extremely important for the production of food. Farming has been a part of Thanet for hundreds of years. To this day, there are families still working the same land as their ancestors. Because the soil was so good, crops from the area would demand a premium in the London markets. Today, wheat, potatoes and cauliflower are grown in these fields, along with oilseed rape and maize, which are used to make biofuels. Biofuels are a carbon-neutral alternative to fossil fuels and an essential element in helping to combat climate change. To me, it's another reason why these fields should be protected. Since 2019, Quex farms have switched to conservation agriculture. This has reduced their carbon footprint and has seen a dramatic increase in wildlife. With farmland on the decline globally, we should be supporting and embracing these new practices, not eradicating them by building on precious remaining land. The local farmers are very proud of the vital role their crops play in food production. Yields here in Westgate and Garlange are so good that they produce enough wheat for 2 million loaves of bread and potatoes for 65 million meals. Can we really afford to lose that? But it's not just agriculture that we stand to lose. The highest price will be paid by the abundant wildlife that call the fields and borders their home. There are hundreds of ground nesting birds in these fields, and what's quite sad is that I can already see how much they've been affected by the traffic. With 2,000 new homes on the horizon, and at least that many new cars to go with them, these birds' habitats are going to be pushed further and further until they've nowhere left to go. In fact, a recent report from Kent County Council highlights that a development of this size could permanently displace breeding farmland birds from this area. The fields are home to many species of animal, birds, reptiles and insects, several of which are protected species. Slowworms are protected by the Wildlife and Countryside Act 1981. Building works would almost certainly cause them harm and damage the slowworm population. I can't believe this. We've just come out for our normal walk on the normal route that we take to discover that the development has been pushed out further, so now we can't walk the way we usually go. The trees and bushes that were here are vital habitat for wildlife in this area. Where do they go when the development reaches them? The dark skies above the fields also provide a safe corridor for bats, owls and birds of prey. Bats are a protected species, and it's a criminal offence to harm them or their habitat. By law, developers must carry out a bat survey before any building can take place. We must stand up and give a voice to this wildlife before the irreparable damage takes place. To the west of Broadstairs is a development of new houses that have been in the building process for a number of years. I wanted to get a feel for what Garlinge and Westgate's future might be like. This is a site where almost 3,000 new houses are scheduled to be built. I was immediately concerned about the lack of living space, and in particular, the amount of concrete versus green open space. To me, the houses felt small and claustrophobic, and I also wondered how years of building work might take its toll on the residents who lived close by. Housing developers always promise to include green space, but how can you replace this with this? A recent figure published by Action on Empty Homes suggests that in 2020, 2,799 houses in Thanet were classed as long-term empty or second homes. There are also plenty of viable brownfield sites, which should be used before even thinking about it. And yet here we are, building houses on our own green spaces. As I stand here and reflect on what I've discovered, I feel an overwhelming sense of sadness thinking about what we're going to lose. So what can we do to help? Although the situation may seem desperate, it's by no means a foregone conclusion, and there are small things that each of us can do to put pressure on the process and make sure that as residents our voices are heard. The first and most important thing to do is send in an objection to Thanet District Council. At the moment, there is no deadline, and you can object more than once. Earlier this year, residents of Westgate and Garlinge received a leaflet through their doors outlining the easy objection process. Family, friends and neighbours can object too, so please share this information with them and encourage them to object, no matter where they live or what their age. How to object? Email planning.services@thanet.gov.uk. You must include your name, address and reason for objecting. You must also include the following objection reference number. If you prefer, you can send a written copy to the following address. The same objections can also be emailed to our MP, Roger Gale, and the Secretary of State for Housing, Communities and the Local Government. If you are on Facebook, please join the Westgate and Garlinge Action Group Against Housing Development. Once you've joined, there is an important petition to sign, as well as lots of information about the proposed plans and what you can do to contribute and support the group. Walking the footpaths and bridleways is a pastime that many of us currently enjoy. While you are out and about, if you spot any wildlife, please carefully take a picture and use iRecord to log the wildlife you've seen. You can find the iRecord app in the App Store on your smartphone. By using this app, we are able to build a central picture of wildlife, and it may well become an important factor in the fight against the development. Just because humans live on the planet, it does not mean we have the right to be judge and jury on whether to destroy or not to destroy. We are only caretakers, here to protect and preserve. To me, it seems these fields and their inhabitants have earned the right to remain free. I'm at a loss as to why we are not trying to find alternatives to the supposed affordable housing crisis. Surely, we should be exploring all viable options before making the decision to decimate our farmland.